Morning, Netterino and Emil. Or afternoon for Emil at least. Yeah, we'll talk about DivX finals today. It's a major talking point to some extent. I'm actually still writing up what I want to say. It went late on Saturday? I think it went later than what a normal SAC tournament goes, if I'm not mistaken. I think it went late at all.
On them, and you can see they have this.
It lasted under 5 hours. Oh, lasted the same amount of time as Loink did, the stream at least. Literally just a minute longer than the Loink stream from the weekend before. So, but I guess if you live in Europe, that's kind of late. But you do, so it makes sense. That makes sense. Had to check the Twitch VOD to see how long that VOD lasted. That's why RZA made a special guest appearance onto the Popcast. That happens from time to time. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Popcast. Whenever you're listening to this, whether it be live or VOD, Twitch or YouTube, or Spotify, while you're raging about a tournament that has a funky rule set, using a quad Booyah Bomb comp while playing on Splat Zone's Humpback, waking up this morning and checking any app on your phone and coming to the realization, oh, the Oscars was on last night. Whatever it is that you're doing right now, appreciate you taking the time out of your day to listen to this. Unless I don't. Wow, that's somebody got slapped last night. That was that's interesting. I guess that's what commentators use that word a lot. I guess using the word interesting in that context is kind of appropriate. Joking about people's wives isn't cool. It's, I'm not going to get into debate about if that was off color joke or something like that or not. But I will say this. I don't think you're allowed to slap somebody in the face and then come out and say that you want to be a vessel for love. That I don't think that's how that works. But I stand to be proven wrong if that is the case. News of some tournaments that are coming up that may be of interest to the casual listener of the podcast. And this is going to be a very lengthy section, lengthier than I thought it was going to be. First off, out of order, Squidboards is going to be on September. There might be a Squidboards in September. Squidboards is going to be April the 16th. Which is a Saturday. It was supposed to be last month. However, due to Nintendo deciding, hey, we're just going to do a tournament, I took over that spot. So Squidboards was like, nah, we'll move out of your way. Don't worry about it. Don't be mad at us. So there you go. It's going to be a double elimination tournament this time around, as opposed to the Swiss into Top Cut stage that it was last time. I guess back in December was when the last Squidboard tournament was. So all you people that hate Swiss, I got bad news for you. There was a new mid-level tournament announced that decided Swiss would be a good idea, so they're running a Swiss tournament for that. But other tournaments that don't, that realize Swiss is not the best thing to do unless you have to absolutely no choice but do Swiss. A double elimination tournament of Squidboard sounds like a lot of fun. So make sure you sign up for that April the 16th. How many months am I going to mispronounce there? Girls Duo Cup is this upcoming Saturday, the 2nd, and this is hosted by Dapple Productions, and I don't know if registration is still open or if they closed registration early so that they can put teams together the week before. But even if you're not playing in it, doesn't mean you can't go support it and watch it. I don't think there's anything else going on the 2nd, or at least anything else significant going on the 2nd. So hop over to Dapple Productions, give them a view for their Girls Duo Cup this Saturday, starting at 1 p.m. Eastern Time or 7 p.m. CEST. I believe there was a time change in Europe over the weekend. So hopefully CEST is still the thing you guys use, or CEDT or whatever. Minnow Cup is going to be on April. I have here the 19th. That is incorrect. That'd be March. This is April the 9th. I got the 19th. That's the L in April that I got there. Man, I really wish I could read my own handwriting. So not this upcoming Saturday, but the Saturday after that is Minnow Cup. It is coming back to back. We love to see it running as consistently as it is. There is another tournament that is going to be on April the 9th that we're going to talk about in the weekly recap. And there was another tournament that was going to be on April the 9th that got canceled because of that other tournament that popped up, decided to be on April the 9th, which is fine. Look, it's going to be a busy month. There's going to be a lot of tournaments going on here. Which is a good thing. All the people complaining the scene is dead. Well, I guess it depends on what part of the skill level spectrum that you're on there. I'm just going to glance real quick. I haven't seen anything about Little Squid League, and they still haven't announced the Little Squid League 20. If they do one in April, it's probably going to have to be on a Sunday at this point. It's just April's looking pretty loaded. You got Girls Duo Cup this weekend. You got a whole gazillion tournaments on the 9th. You got Squid Boards on the 16th. You got Low Ink happening at some point. I'm not announcing when. Hey, look, there's an open date there. After Squid Boards, isn't there? And then at the end of the week, you got Low Tide City, which is going to dominate it. Now, you can still run tournaments during Low Tide City. Squid Junction did last time, and seemed to got a lot of teams that sign up for the Squid Junction. Hopefully not the 23rd. When do you think it's going to be then? Use some context clues. It has to be somewhere. But Low Tide City is going to be the final weekend of this. So, yeah, April's kind of busy, kind of beefy month here for Splatoon. Good things. And yes, the spawn point thing. We'll talk about spawn point in the weekly recap. That's more of like a breaking news kind of thing. And I have more thoughts that I want to say on it, other than just announcing that it is a thing. But I guess I will say, if you want to participate in Squid Spawn Points tournament, that's going to be on April the 9th as well. Also, it's a charity event, so if you want to donate for that, I believe proceeds go towards an organization that is supporting Ukraine, which is something I completely forgot about. Man, I looked at the thing that happened yesterday at the Oscars, and then I wake up this morning and I see like one news report about what's going on in Ukraine. I was like, oh, right, there's a war going on right now. I kind of forgot about that because of some Oscar shenanigans. Today, we are going to be recapping Season 4 of SAC. Not just the finals, but we'll be talking about the season as a whole, what we will see in the upcoming future, not like I have inside information, but just more so my thoughts of what I think we might see in upcoming seasons of SAC, or season number 5. But first, as I've been trying to say kind of frequently, and I've been doing a better job of this, if you actually want me to pay attention to a message you leave in chat, highlight it. And at the end of a segment, I will go back and I will read it out loud, unless I read it in my head first and realize, oh, that sucks. You're a person who leaves stupid comments, and I'll just ignore you forever. So you've been warned. But if you want me to actually pay attention and acknowledge you, leave a highlighted message in chat. It was episode 98 of the Popcast. 10 episodes ago. So roughly 2 months ago, maybe a month and a half, was when I recapped the LUTI season as a whole. Because in my mind at the time, LUTI was over. That was the end of the LUTI season. Sometime at the beginning of February. It was dead and gone. The season was gone, and we could move on to other things. 2 weekends ago, Div 1 wrapped up with Enlight getting a 5-2 win over Gol de Lucas. We spawned a series of tweets from people on Twitter that said, hey, wait a minute, Div 1 just now finished? They just now played their set and got it over with? Oh, okay, interesting. I forgot LUTI was still a thing. That's kind of weird that LUTI is still a thing. And Div 9, at the same time, I don't know if they actually played 2 weekends ago, but they at least reported their score 2 weekends ago. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles wrapped up Div 9 by beating a team Irisit, I believe is how that is pronounced, and beating them pretty comfortably. Not really surprising if you look at the other teams that the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles had beaten at that up to that point. Now, Div 9, sidetrack real quick. Div 9 is actually Div question mark, right? It's not people making these low-level tournaments that say your tournament's going to be like Div 9 to Div 7. You do realize a good chunk of Div 9 is way better than mid-level, right? Like, you can't put the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in low ink. You can't. They beat Mecha Sharia in LUTI. And I am convinced the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles have to be some kind of Smurf of some sort. And why? There's no reason to Smurf. There's no prize for winning Div 9, and of course you're going to get put in Div 9 or whatever the lowest div is because you have no history and there's nothing that staff can find about you. So yeah, you're going to get put in the worst div, and maybe that's what they wanted. They just wanted to get put in the worst div and just have fun beating up on other people that are stuck in there with them. So congratulations, whoever you are, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. If you're somebody who watches the Popcast and lurks in it, hiding your secret identity, congrats on winning Div 9, I guess. But there, Div 9 wrapped up as well. Now, as everyone was talking about Div 1 coming to a close, if you were in Div X, you're probably just like, uh-oh, don't look at Div X. If you think it's ridiculous that Div 1 is still going on, oh boy, we got a lot of issues in our own neck of the woods that we got to discuss here. Before we get to Div X, though, and there's a lot of frustrating things with Div X, clearly. For me personally, Div 2 is the most frustrating situation. Grand Finals was a forfeit. They didn't even play. It was Selk versus Dreamscape. And feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Selk had players across many different regions, which made finding time for them to actually play in some of the sets difficult to do. Dreamscape, I know, I've seen Prosper play for, I think, is Prosper officially on Sirius's roster now? I know Prosper's been playing with other people, and I think the rest of Dreamscape might have just like been playing with other players as well, or that team like disbanded, or it's just a difficult time finding an opportunity to play against Selk and just ultimately said, nah, who cares? But the grand finals of Div 2 didn't happen. It's a forfeit. -1 for Dreamscape, 0 for Selk, and that's how Div 2 ends. How can you let Div 2 end like this? Div 2 historically has been one of the most, if not the most, talked about, looked at div in any season. The phrase Div 2 easy clap came from Div 2. All the great rivalries of the past spawned from people crap talking each other in Div 2. It's always been Div 2 that is the awesome thing to look at. How can you have the grand finals of that not even play? Could you imagine that in any other tournament where you get to it's a massive buildup over the course of the season for multiple months to have the epic conclusion just be both teams being like, who cares? You can take it. There's nothing on the line here, which of course there is nothing really on the line there. That makes sense. You're playing for pride at that point and honor and bragging rights. But what was the point? What the build up for all of this led to just that? That sucks, and it just completely devalues everything all these other teams fought for. Campfire and Operation Paradox played the bronze medal match with Campfire winning 5-4. Looks like a pretty close set if it went all the way to a game 9. That was 2 months ago. So it's not just like every team in Div 2 just didn't care. It's just the best teams in Div 2 just completely ran out of gas. That's frustrating for me personally. Not just because my team was in Div 2 and because I got to see a lot of these teams firsthand, but yeah, that's just the frustrating result to look at the end there. Oh, man. Div X, though. While Div 2 is my personal gripe, Div X is probably the biggest gripe of everyone. It's the worst of them all. And when I initially wrote these notes down, I put down that this div is still going. That is not true. It is officially over. Starburst has won Div X. Surprise to nobody. Did anybody fill out a fantasy bracket and not put Starburst down as the team is going to win this? I don't know. It's shocking that it took 5 months to eliminate 7 teams out of an 8-team group, right? Because when you got 8 teams of the most experienced players, not just talk about the best players that we have in the scene, but 8 teams filled with players that are the most experienced with tournaments and understanding their formats, you would assume that they would figure out a way to get these tournaments dead and gone and figured out in a timely manner. It was a different format from the other divs, where groups only had 4 teams in them as opposed to the 6-team groups that every other div had. And the top cut was a double elimination bracket to make up for it. So in theory, this should be faster than every other div, right? If you were to win this group, which Starburst did, you only have to play 6 total matches. 3 in group stage, and then 3 in the double elimination bracket. Now, if it was a bracket reset, I guess technically you would have had to play 7. But if you think everybody else, just to get out of the group stage, has to play 5 matches, and Starburst played 6 total throughout the entire season, you would think, okay, this can get done a little bit quicker. And maybe it doesn't, because the problem with double elimination is that you are dependent on other matches getting done first. So it's not like Starburst can just, hey, it's week 6. Let's find out who our week 6 opponent is. Let's DM. Let's set up a time and all that. No, they probably don't know who they're going to play for several weeks. Or in theory, especially if they make it to a grand finals, they're going to have to wait for losers to finish up anyways. So if one team in your group is just slow, like in a normal group, in like div whatever, if one team in your group is just being slow and they just can't play for that week or whatever, fine. It doesn't bother you. You can just either go back and play one of the teams in your group that you haven't played yet that you're supposed to, or you can't skip ahead and play a team in front of you. I think that'd be a great feature, though, if LUTI just listed, here's the maps for week 1 through week 5, and try to stay in order. But if you your opponent isn't available in week 1 and you want to play your match and you want to play one ahead of time, go ahead and play week 5 during week 1 just to get it over with ahead of time. I think that'd be a good quality of life kind of thing. But it's I'm sure there's a reason why that doesn't take place. I'm sure there's some issues with that I'm not thinking of. But I mean, that's the case. There was in my div group, there was one team who I swear the only time they would have been available was the second full moon after the spring equinox, after they sacrificed one of their team members to appease the gods or something like that. They were just never available. If that team was in Div X, this would have been that would have slowed down everything, because you're waiting for those loser bracket matches to happen, and they just straight up did not happen. So what's causing the issue here in Div X? Why did this slow down so much? I had a couple of theories here. First off, the Starburst in the room. These guys are, let's face it, Starburst is in Div X. They're under-divved. They are. They're not a Div X team. They're not a Div X plus team. They're not on the same level as everybody else. They're not. The only teams that are on the same level with them are Kings, possibly Alliance Rogue, obviously FT Win, whatever their roster is right now, and Jackpot. You can throw Jackpot in there as well. There's probably some other teams, and probably half of Japan might be in that list as well. But as far as the West is concerned, that's it. All these other teams that are in Div X can't hold a candle to them. Now, Young Squad, which seemed to be a roster built up of players from those other teams that I mentioned, is capable of beating them. Sure. But I made this argument when I first previewed this LUTI season back in November of last year. I made this point. Can the teams that are in Div X, can they beat Starburst in a best of 3? Yes. Some of them can. Now, some of them can't. Some of them they'll play 100 times. They'll never beat Starburst in a best of 3. But there is enough jank that could happen, especially a best of 3 map list with a preset map list without counter picks. There's enough jank that can happen in a best of 3 to where somebody could take 2 games away from Starburst. That absolutely could happen. Can any of the teams in DivX beat Starburst in a best of 5? Maybe Young Squad, because technically Young Squad did take 3 games away from Starburst in the actual finals of this tournament, the winners finals here, where Young Squad lost them 5-3. So maybe if that's a best of 5, Young Squad can find a way to beat Starburst. Nobody else can, though. Nobody else is going to beat Starburst in a best of 5. Nobody else other than Young Squad took 1 game away from Starburst. Arctic Moon took 1 away from them in the group stage, and Bed took 1 away from them in the double elimination winner side bracket. That's it. Nobody else could take a single game off of them. Nobody else could come close. So in a best of 5, that's when you're starting to see Starburst just lap everybody and say goodbye. Is anybody beating Starburst in a best of 9 set? No, it's not possible. It's not possible, especially Starburst with Biscuit on the roster. In my opinion, after I saw Biscuit at Riptide, even though Biscuit did not win Riptide with not FT win, I thought Biscuit made a strong case to being the best individual player in the West. So this is one of the players you were supposed to defeat Starburst, not join them. So, but yeah, I mean, you talk about Starburst in general, and then you add Biscuit to that. It just, like, you can't put that team over the top because they're already gone. So a problem with DivX, my point here being, is when you look at just who's going to beat Starburst, and you go into a set thinking, we can't beat Starburst, it kind of drags things down and makes it less fun. I understand that. I've been, not this past LUTI season, but seasons in the past, especially when we were like Div 6, I knew going into some of those matches, it's like, we can't take a game away from this team we're about to play. We can't. That sucks. It's not fun. And it's especially not fun when you have like the week build up to it. It's like, all right, let's find a schedule. Let's schedule a time for you to come and beat my ass. I'm not available on Wednesday. What about Thursday night? Can you destroy this on Thursday night? Okay, cool. I mean, you don't just go out and quit. And I'm not just saying I am saying a lot of these DivX teams did quit straight up. But I'm not saying anybody like was going to play Starburst and was just like, we have no shot. They legit straight up played them with the best intent to try to beat them, but it's this thing in the back of your mind. We had when I was in high school, we played this team that wore gold helmets, a football team that wore gold helmets, and they were our rival, and it was really difficult for us to beat them, and we never really did. And you just had it in your mind being mentally defeated before you went in and played them. Our coach called it gold dome phobia. It's just, you go into the game mentally defeated, and then that's exactly what happens. A lot of people go into a match against Starburst mentally defeated. I understand that. And that definitely kind of drags things down in the tournament. Now, let's take a look at this bracket itself, because this is the more I look at this bracket, the more beyond ridiculous that it gets here. Let's do a little transition here. The amount of teams that dropped from the double elimination stage is significant. First off here, I want to point out the path that Rose took to get to grand finals, because they made it to grand finals a couple of days ago. In the group stage, they lost to Arctic Moon 5-3, beat Facade. That's okay. So that they beat Facade one time and then got swept by Starburst. So they won one match in the group stage, went on to, start off in losers bracket. Played Good Morning. This 53-47. That is a forfeit. Arctic Moon, forfeit. Facade. Hey, we beat Facade again. That's our second win of the entire season. Playing Facade for the same time. This time we 5-0'd them. There we go. Young Squad. Forfeit. They made it to grand finals of Div X, beating one team. That's it. They only beat Facade. That is it. The other wins they got here is because of forfeits. Straight up, just straight across the board. Wow. How do you talk about I talk about the honor of Div 2 of that grand finals not even playing because of forfeit, that being a joke. Div X, my goodness, this double elimination thing. How do you get to grand finals? We talk about Loink, how teams dodge some other teams. Not that you have control over that, but I mean, you can't dodge teams when none of them will play you. My goodness. Now, Young Squad, this one was supposed to actually be played. I think somebody didn't wake up in time because of the time change, or just didn't care enough to actually wake up, to set an alarm to wake up beforehand to warm up or something like that. I don't know. But I believe this one was like being streamed until one of their teammates didn't show up, and then they had to forfeit or something like that. So we at least have context for this forfeit. But I mean, the rest of this is just disappointing. It's just straight up disappointing, which led to a grand finals, which Chara streamed, which had like over 200 people watching it live, which was awesome. And I think a lot of people have not seen a lot of competitive sets before. We're watching that, and that's good to see. And again, this Young Squad Starburst match had like a couple thousand people watching that stream as well. So there's interest from people outside of competitive Splatoon that are watching these kinds of sets, which is good to see. But this is not the grand finals anybody wanted or deserved. Or maybe you look at how DivX kind of went through. Maybe this is what we deserved here. Oh my gosh. And keep in mind, all of that that I just showed you took 5 months. It took them 5 months to do all that, to come to that kind of conclusion right there. Yikes. I think now, just reading the tea leaves and seeing how all these sets started to play just now, or within the past couple of weeks, that makes me think that was when LUTI staff put the foot down and said, hey, all right, let's get this stuff done now, or there's going to be consequences. So I think that's why magically losers finals of Div X, Div 1, and Div 9 all happened on the same weekend, and then we finally get the finals the week after. So I think that's kind of why I think everything just took the jump start again. And maybe without that kind of, hey, get it done, idiot, kind of push from the staff, this still might be a thing going on, because it's clear that none of the teams involved in this really had any intentions of getting these sets over with. Now, what does this say about the scene as a whole? Is it fair to kind of take this situation and stretch it out to mean a multitude of different things? Possibly. If a DivX player will tell you that there's the motivation to play the game is gone. They'll complain about the spawn point tournament and be like, well, there's, the prize pools are going to tournaments like this instead of majors, or there's just nobody wants to play the game anymore and the game's scene's dead and all that stuff. And it's like, no, that's not true. Low level has been a non-stop party for a couple of years now. Mid-level has gone through a renaissance. But I want to point something out. The biggest issue in the scene for the past year was the lack of a mid-level. Well, mid-level is now getting solved. It's got SAC and it's got Ink Odyssey, and I guess midpoint's still a thing. And there's somebody trying to make a new mid-level tournament, which is a Swiss thing. Have fun with that. So mid-level is going through some good. Mid-level's got solved. Or maybe it's not solved, but it's on the right path. It's gone through a renaissance. So what's the biggest issue right now? High level. high level, top level, whatever you want to call it, is the biggest issue with the scene right now that needs some attention. However, high level, when you look at this, when you look at how LUTI finished, Div X 1 and 2, your three highest levels, all having major issues in it, that is a red flag to TOs who want to try to create something. Because when TOs see that it took 5 months for all the top divs to get slogged through, that makes them a little hesitant. And maybe I should try to get somebody on next week. I think next week's going to be a slower week as far as things to talk about episode. Maybe I should try to get someone from high level on to get their perspective of what's kind of going on here, not just in LUTI, but just high level in general. And I understand the frustration. Tassel is gone. There was supposed to be a Tassel 3, but it just never really happened, and I don't think it is going to happen at this point. I don't know. It takes a lot of effort to run Tassel with the production value that it has. And also, as we see with DivX, there's going to have to be a lot of hand-holding. Hey, get your daggum games in at the appropriate time, dummies. LUTI, bless their heart. I mean, do you run another LUTI tournament at this point? I know I had Emil on 8 episodes ago, and Emil was talking about how you can run another LUTI before or during the launch of Splatoon 3. That is something you can do. But, I mean, you look at the frustration that went on here, and I'm thinking, if I'm staff for LUTI, would I want to? It's the thing. Do I want to do this again? And that's kind of concerning when we're starting to get burnout for the people who want to actually run tournaments for high-level players. And, of course, like the prize pool, like if you're a high-level player, the only tournament you can play in that's going to have a prize pool is going to be a gimmick tournament at this point, not just the spawn point thing, but, you know, betas tournaments, the launch day tournament. Roundy's tournaments have a prize pool, or at least the one that was going to be on April the 9th did have a prize pool. Shopping spree. What's the other one? There was another one that I feel like beta did that had a prize pool that was drawing some attention. I forgot. But that's really it. There's no majors. Right? There's no, Super Jump was September. That was a long time ago. Low Tide City's coming up, but not everybody can play in Low Tide City. It's a long way that you got to fly to. And I haven't even looked at the teams yet. I mean, I'm going to Low Tide City, and we're going to cover it, and we're going to do a preview of it. But I haven't looked at it. Is like FT Win and Starburst both going? But I mean, like, even if those two are, they're not going to play Jackpot. They're not going to play Alliance Rogue. You're not going to see those. They're not going to play Kings. You're not going to see those matches that you want to see going. Just FT Win is going. No, who's supposed to beat them? That is concerning. However, my point being is this. I can understand the frustration for high level because there's not a lot of things going on for them. In fact, here's the thing. Who is carrying the scene for high level? It's Nintendo. Oh my gosh, bless your hearts, high level. The best thing you got going for you is Nintendo tournaments. That is not good. That is a bad sign. But it is also the reality here. Oh. LUTI season as a whole, though, there was a prize pool in DivX, and that's something to fight for. And 90% of the teams, 95% of the teams that played in LUTI got their stuff done on time. It's not fair to judge all of Div 2 or all of Div 1 off of the final teams that finished at the top there, or all of Div 9. You can judge all of Div X because, hell, half of them just said bye. Done, don't care anymore. So that's a bit concerning. But the LUTI as a whole was fine. 250 teams, the vast majority of them got their things done on time, and it was fine. And struggled. Like, a lot of those teams really struggled to get their sets in. They played them at bizarre hours. You saw a lot of awkward Sunday night sets, or like matches being played on Monday after the map list got announced, and then you immediately saw a few teams playing. Like, teams went out of their way to make sure they got their sets in on time, and then you see DivX not doing the same thing. Just straight up not doing the same thing. That is concerning for a lot of people. I wanted to see more high-level players speak up about this. I really did. It would have been awesome to see more high-level players just be like, hey, you guys realize we don't have anything. We as high-level players, we don't have anything in this scene except for like a few things, and we're not taking care of them. This DivX was not taken care of by the players. It straight up was not. And if you're a TO looking to do something for that group, you see that. It goes both ways. It really goes both ways. It sucks all around. But it's finally over. One last point here. DivX is done. The LUTI season has officially come to a close after 5 months. With that being said, a little side topic here. Can you guys please shut the hell up about what your div is? About what div you think you are? About what div you think your opponent is that you beat that makes you this new imaginary div? Can we not do that? Can we please not do that? Oh my gosh, it's so frustrating. And it always is. But guys, it's been 5 months now. The div you got, I said this. The div you got back in November, 5 months ago, that's it. You don't get redived after you win week 1. You don't get redived after you win your div. You don't get redived until the next LUTI season comes out. It's seeding for a tournament only. That's it. That's it. You guys, could anybody, at here scrim, only people who get seeded in the top 2 of their group in SOS? That's what you're doing, essentially. That's essentially what you're doing. But, and I know it always comes up, a pop gun, you use LUTI divs as a line in the sand for who's available and who can be playing in low ink. Yes. However, if you actually pay attention to low ink, you know it's not as simple as us just saying, let's have a look-see here. You played in Div 5 last season. You are okay for low ink. No, we have to deep dive and look into what results everybody has gotten for the past 5 months. That's why I say divs are opinion, results are fact. We banned several teams in Div 5, Div 6, Div 9, Div 7. Probably some Div 8 teams might be banned from low ink right now. It's because you have to, as a TO, you have to look into results. Results are fact. They cannot be argued against. Yes, you got the line in the sand somewhere, because if you have a cap, there has to be some sort of cap. I get that. However, if all these people are saying, I can't play in this tournament because my div estimate in my head is this, stop. Please stop. It's just a personal pet peeve of mine, but it's... and I know we all need to rank ourselves somehow, and we need something that we can go off of, but... I don't know. I've done millions of episodes talking about how LUTI seeding in general is not something you can just come up with. It's based off of so many factors outside of your control. Who all signs up for this? If FTWin signed up for this DivX season, one team is getting bumped down from everything. All of a sudden, some team in Div 4 is now saying, I'm eligible for low ink because I got bumped down to Div 5 just because FTWin signed up. It's like, you see how annoying that is. Before I go on another angry rant, let's move on to the next topic. It is time for the weekly recap. Spawn Point TV announced a new tournament that was going to be on April, or that is going to be on April the 9th. Think before you ink. This is a turf war tournament with a twist. The winner of the set is not the team who paints the most ink, but whoever comes the closest to 48%. This is not. Now, somebody was saying this is Price is Right rules. That is not. In Price is Right, as Jub will tell you, it's the closest to the actual retail price without going over. So it's not. You can go over 49% and still win this one. It's just closest the other way. Correct me if I'm wrong. If it is Price is Right rules, that really screws it up. But at least the rules that I saw and I interpreted, is that you can go over 48%. It's just whoever's closest in between the two. Now, people have strong takes about this on Twitter for one reason and one reason only. It's got $1,000 prize pool. If it had no prize pool and it was just a charity tournament, nobody would be saying anything negative about it at all. But because this is a tournament that's going to draw in high-level players, and they realized, oh, wait a minute, this format makes it so pretty much anybody can win. They spoke out about it in force about how it was a bit of a dumb rule. Now, a few things that I want to point out with this. It is a charity tournament. I believe the proceeds go towards an organization that supports Ukraine in the current Russia going bat poop crazy assault on Ukraine thing that's going on right now. So that's cool. And I would encourage anybody to donate for it because Spawn Point TV is a good organization that all the events they've run so far have been charity events that have supported not only war efforts in Ukraine, but the organization that gives video games to children in hospitals. I had Barry on at the end of Shopping Spree, and that was something he kind of described. So Spawn Point TV doing some good stuff here. Now, people having takes on this. Here's my take. I want to wait and see it. I want to wait and see this tournament happen in action. I have a lot of initial thoughts on it, but I don't think it's fair to judge this before you actually see it happen because I don't really know how this is going to work in practice. I understand people. I understand that people have labbed this out, and that's why, like, the Spawn Point staff labbed out this to a good extent to figure out that's how they got to 48%. But I'm just sitting here thinking, what are the strategies that could go on here? I think, and I haven't tried this out yet, so I could be totally wrong, but I think the best strategy for this is to stay in your spawn for the first 2 minutes. Maybe the first 2 minutes and 15 seconds, and then play to up to like a certain extent and try to play like a certain place file in just 45 seconds. I think if you're going for a target score, I think the less time you spend affecting the outcome is optimal. I don't think you want to spend the whole 3 minutes changing variables. So I think you want to spend as little time as possible without putting yourself in a situation to where, oh, we get wiped, we're automatically going to lose. That's my initial thought of the strategy for this, and I could be totally wrong. My only gripe, here's the only gripe I will point out here, is that Roundy did have a tournament on that same day that was announced first. That was a gimmick tournament that did have a prize pool of $110. And you know, I'm assuming Spawn Point didn't really see that, because I don't think Spawn Point's just like trying to bulldoze their way through and just decide, yeah, we're gonna run a tournament anyway, or just kick out the little guy. I don't think that's the case here. And credit to Roundy for, you know, the being a gentleman about it, canceling his tournament and even promoting, like, say, hey, you guys should go play in this tournament. It was on now for 3 weeks. Okay, but still, Roundy did cancel his tournament and even said, hey, here's the Spawn Point tournament. Go play in this. And make sure you guys do play in Layer Cake that is going on this Wednesday, a part of the Roundy's old individual org. Bad ideas only there. But that's kind of my gripe, is that it just kind of, I think unintentionally, it did kind of steamroll and cancel another tournament. Which, to be fair, if you're going to run a tournament in April, as I pointed out, it's pick your poison. Everything is loaded on here. And by the way, at any point, Nintendo can just show up and say, hey, we're doing a tournament this Saturday. We're just going to do a tournament. We just felt like it. We're just going to do a turf war ladder into a triple elimination, whatever we feel like doing. Whatever the intern thought of this morning, we're going to do. So, like, there's that kind of frustration as well, but a lot of tournaments isn't a bad thing. It just makes scheduling kind of complicated. SOS 63 was won by Oranges 4-2 over Apex Legends. I believe the Apex Legends was their name. Rough It less than 3 was the team that finished in third place. I miss when this was a thing. Normal teams were winning instead of these teams where you got to look at the roster to figure out who was doing what. Unless Oranges becomes a normal thing. I think Oranges is a fine team name. I think it gets the job done. But you miss when you could just say, hey, Campfire won this tournament, because you all know who Campfire is. Instead, they beat Apex Legends. I already forgot who was on that roster. Now, the more I think about SOS, the more I kind of appreciate what it is just a tournament that gives people a good warm-up and give them results for other things. Kind of notably how a lot of these players and teams were competing in the SAC finals have been using SOS as a way to kind of fine-tune their skills for a while now. SOS or Hammerhead bracket won by No Specials. Heaven's Moonlight won Mako bracket. Keep an eye on Heaven's Moonlight. These guys are pretty strong. What div do you guys think these Heaven's Moonlight is right now? Lantern bracket won by Essence as well. See what I mean? I'd like to see Heaven's Moonlight and Essence doing good in these tournaments. It translates into other things. Not to take anything away from Oranges. I just forgot what your roster was already. 5 Night at Falco's. Sponsor or results coming out here. I commentated this. Rolling Squids win 2-1 over Crab Rave. Cake got eaten alive by Macageria. I believe that's how it's pronounced. Squid Killers 3-0'd Prism. Marine Melody 3-0'd the Cat Purglers. Week 4 coming up this Saturday. Or this Friday. That is the Friday Night Frenzy. I guess I should point out. 5 Night at Falco's, though. That'd be a good alternate name. Just with the F and F there. And that was your weekly recap. Sponsored by whoever won an award at the Oscars yesterday that wasn't the Best Male Actor award. Because I have no idea who won an Oscar other than that award from last night. I hear it was a very historic night. I think the first openly gay woman won an award. I think it's the first time a woman actor or a woman director has won the Best Actor award 2 years in a row or something. There was a lot of historic stuff that happened for anybody who cares. But whoever won an award last night that wasn't the Best Actor. Who cares? Make them the official sponsor of this week's episode of the Weekly Recap. Heaven's Moonlight, last segment, Ty Yester. Is there any reason why FT Win didn't play in LUTI? I had Shaq on, I think like episode 96 or something like that. And he kind of alluded to the fact that there's no reason for FT Win to play in LUTI. They kind of pointed out like, hey, it's 8 weeks of scheduled matches that we're probably going to win until we play Starburst, and it's no real incentive for them to do that. And honestly, there's no incentive for Starburst to do it other than whatever the prize pool is, but that's a long time to get a prize pool. So FT Win, at least Shaq, if you want a direct quote from Shaq, Negus had him on this podcast, and Shaq was on my podcast. Go back and check that, because Shaq directly referenced why FT Win doesn't play in LUTI. There's just no real point to it, or for them at least. Little Squiddly 20 just got announced 8 minutes ago. It's going to be scheduled for April 23rd and the 24th. No, it won't. No, it won't. That's kind of the awkward thing of Low Ink hasn't been announced yet, but because we wait till the first of the month. But and I guess I can't technically announce the date that it's going to be on. But I think anyone who looks at context clues of what dates are available when Low Ink normally runs, or no, hey, it can run at the same time of Low Ink if Low Ink were to run at that time. But okay, we'll keep an eye on that going forward, I guess. Sounds like a Low Ink weekend. It kind of does. I mean, we could run Low Ink at the same time that we're running all these other tournaments on Saturday. If not. Wait, LSL's a 2-day tournament? Are they doing like another major? A 2-day event celebrating the 2-year anniversary. More information to come in the coming days. We'll keep an eye on that then. How many Low Inks have I done? Since April of 2020. Because we won March of 2020, and then I commentated grand finals of everyone since then. There was none in September. So for 2 years, it's been over 2 years I've been doing Low Ink stuff. I've only been ahead for like 8 months or so. JPEG's been doing it forever, and Hohen's been doing it from the start. SAC finals. We're taking a lot of time here. We need to move on. The fourth season, or fifth, because the first season of SAC was season 0, has come to a dramatic end. Kind of. Somewhat. Sort of. Like many seasons that came before it, an overpowered team rose to the top and dominated to some extent. It wasn't a cakewalk for Tempest, who won the SAC finals on Saturday. Four Beans offered pretty good opposition. One of the few teams that actually beat Tempest over the course of the season. But ultimately, after forcing a bracket reset against Tempest, was not able to close out the deal, and Tempest won the whole tournament. The entire season to boot. Ultimately, Tempest's record per sets this entire season, 27 wins, only 3 losses. 2 of those losses, one of them being a best of 3 Swiss stage, 2-1, where Four Beans beat Tempest. The other one being the bracket reset in SAC finals, where Tempest lost to Four Beans 2-3. Of course, the other team to beat Tempest was Raccoon Soup, who had a very surprising exit on SAC. I'm curious if something happened behind the scenes there with DCs or something like that. Very suspicious eliminations there from Raccoon Soup, but don't want to dwell too much on the negative here. Let's point credit where credit is due on the positive side here. Tempest was really freaking good. Now, I'm not complaining about Tempest being an overpowered team. It's going to happen. We saw it happen several times in SACs in the past. All Wall Gaming, until Illmatic, I think, had a roster change that season. Fourth Dimension, the team Bagel was on. I mean, you talk about probably the best player to come out of SAC. Fourth Dimension was dominant that season they played. I guess that was season 1. Even last season had a lot of parity during the 4 qualifier tournaments that built up to the finals. But once Xanadu did a free agent acquisition, added Neo to their roster, that put them over the top and nobody could touch them. They steamrolled everybody in that SAC finals, including my team. We did take one Clan Blitz best of 3 set away from them, but we couldn't beat them anywhere else. Xanadu was just too strong. Xanadu became the overpowered team with that roster addition. But up until that point, it was a really competitive parity season where just like teams were taking turns beating up on each other, and you felt like anybody could win here. This time around, there was just 3 teams you felt could win. It was Tempest, and then Raccoon Soup, and then you knew Four Beans was capable of beating all of them, but Four Beans hadn't won a tournament yet up to that point. Unless they won the 4th tournament where Tempest wasn't a part of it. They might have done that. But you felt like it was Tempest's tournament to lose, even though there were a couple teams there that could beat them. As Four Beans proved, they can beat them. Or when they lose to them, take them to like a game 4 or 5 with something on the line there. But it's not just about the teams that won or finished near the top 2. It's about the teams that grew over the course of the season. Because SAC wasn't built for Tempest, Four Beans, or Raccoon Soup. It was built for the teams that just won low ink or were floating around mid-level and had nothing really to do and needed something to do. So, let's give a quick highlight to some of the teams that grew up over the course of the season. Starting with Campfire, who took a huge step over the course of this season. That's not to say they were a bad team. They were a Div 2 team coming into this one, a 3rd place Div 2 team. One of the few teams in Div 2 who actually gave a damn about playing their sets. Hats off to them. But you look at what Campfire did at the start of the season and where they've grown to being to where they are right now. Not just the accomplishments of finishing 3rd place in the SAC finals, which shouldn't surprise anybody. But you take into consideration, okay, now they're winning SOS tournaments. Now these players, not Campfire, but the players on Campfire, combined with some other players, are winning Squid Junction and making Grand Finals of Squid Junction consistently. SAC helped spark a catalyst for Campfire to grow to become this new monster that's kind of heading off the rest of these teams here in the SAC. So that's what SAC is for teams like that. The Sentinels shocked a lot of people on Saturday. If you weren't paying attention to the Sentinels all season long, they 3-1 Raccoon Soup in round 1. And that was probably the biggest upset of the entire SAC finals. It doesn't surprise me, though. It doesn't surprise me the Sentinels were able to pull off this upset. You keep an eye on what they did. They in tournament number 1, they took Four Beans to a game 5 in a grand final or a top cut set that wasn't grand finals. They beat Summit in tournament 3 in top cut, and they swept Silver Bracket 7-0 in tournament 4. If you were paying attention to the Sentinels, you were like, oh, these guys are just a good 3 or 5 minutes of gameplay away from taking that next step into being something kind of scary. They were just floating around, and they finally struck, knocking off Raccoon Soup in round 1. The Sentinels, I think, finished 4th place as well overall in that final. So the Sentinels, good result there over the course of this entire season. Some other teams deserve some acknowledgement that didn't make top cut. Synergy, I know Synergy's probably not happy with the fact that they missed the top 8 there, but that doesn't discredit the fact that they had a really good season for them. Wipeout Punks, obviously, with the results that they've gotten over the course of all 4 tournaments that they played in, justified them being banned from low ink. And don't tell me what div you think they are. It doesn't matter. Stop estimating that crap. Typhoon, man, I would have loved to see Typhoon play all 4 tournaments. They only played 2, but if they played all 4, I think they legit make top 8. I think they do. They were a really strong team in the 2 tournaments that they actually played. And also Blazing Storm. I talked about how Blazing Storm played in all 4 SAC tournaments, and that helped them kind of take the next leap up to being the low ink champion that they are. Iron sharpened iron. They took their lumps in SAC and then took their frustration out on all the teams in low ink and got the dub for it. So all these teams benefited a lot from SAC being a thing right here, and several others who I didn't mention because I don't really have time to mention all of them here. SAC in general really blew up over the course of this tournament. It figured out its identity with IPL, or is on the right path to figuring out its identity for IPL. I don't know how the staff actually feels about that, but a lot of things were figured out here. The new skill cutoff being the Sindao or Sindal's +3 server. You saw how the tournaments transitioned from being tournaments to qualifiers. Tournament number 1 being an actual legit tournament with 6 rounds of Swiss and best of 5, best of 7 top cuts, and then transitioning to being qualifiers, which made a lot more sense. 5 rounds of Swiss, shorter top cuts, get the tournament over with and done with. The important thing right there is an adjustment made in the middle of the season, which SAC was able to figure out. So what lies ahead? Multiple 3-ish seasons per year is kind of what is being projected here, instead of just the one season at the beginning of the year and not again until the following year. So what are the 2 issues that lie ahead for SAC in the future here? Number 1, the skill cap. If it stays at just being +3, I think it's fine. Again, I kind of pointed out this tournament, the people that played in this tournament is exactly who it was for. The people who are banned from low ink that are doing not so well in this and complaining about it, I say keep grinding, because this is you have to basically hit the reset button, or you could be a team like Wipeout Punks or probably Legato this next season, and you can just skip the going 1-5 and 2-4 in Swiss stage, and you can start contending for those gold brackets immediately. But with Sindao tweeting out, hey, do you guys think I should just delete the plus servers? And the vast majority of people responding, yes, unless you're somebody who's actually in the plus server and the system benefits you, you probably said no. So I understand like the concept of people not in the plus server saying you should get rid of it, and people in the plus server saying no, you should keep it. I totally get that concept. But as far as SAC is concerned, if you're getting rid of +3, well, what's the cutoff going to be? You just let in everybody Div 2 and below? Can you do that? Can you do that if LUTI isn't updating consistently? I don't know what the cutoff would be if +3 were to go away. So they would have to get a little bit creative with that, and that would be a little weird. Issue number B, and this is an issue everybody's dealing with. When is Splat 3 coming out? And what are you going to do when Splatoon 3 comes out? Can you run a season in the middle of the launch? Can you do that? We don't know the date. Can you announce an SAC season? It's going to start in June, and it's going to run June, July, and grand finals in August. What if the game comes out in July? Are you going to transition to Splatoon 3 then? Or are you going to just be like, well, this is a Splatoon 2 tournament. We're going to finish off in Splatoon 2, but do you really want to force people to play Splatoon 2 in August when every other tournament has already transitioned over to Splatoon 3? That'd be really weird, and players wouldn't want to have to keep practicing Splatoon 2 and Splatoon 3 at the same time. So can you do a season in the middle of it? That's a question a lot of TOs are going to have to figure out. Not having a launch day really sucks. I pointed that out several times. What if we announce a low ink on the last weekend of July, and then as they announce, hey, Splatoon 3 is coming out the second to last weekend of July, and we're like, oh, crap, are we going to have a low ink 1 week after the tournament launched? Are enough people going to have Splatoon 3 then? Or are we going to force everyone to play Splatoon 2 again when they're not doing it? There's a lot of questions you got to figure out with that. And this transition from 2 to 3 is going to be extremely awkward, especially when we don't have a date. That's why I was so frustrated when we didn't get a date and we just got a summer. That could mean anything. That could mean the end of June. It could mean the end of September. That makes planning really, really difficult. My point is this, though. This scene is better off with SAC being alive and relevant than with it being dead and gone. Low ink champs have something to look forward to. Low ink band teams have something to look forward to. And SAC season as a whole, it is the official Popcast brand of success. And no, I'm not just saying that because I work for IPL and it's under the thing. I don't do anything with SAC. I'm just a low ink guy. As a participant who played in 2 SAC tournaments and would like to play in the next one, I say thumbs up. If you're banned from Loink, will you be banned in Splatoon 3, Loink? Yes, of course. 100%. 100%. We're not. It's not a reset button. 100% banned if you were banned. If you're banned already, nah. New game doesn't change anything. So that's it. That's longer than what I was expecting to do this episode. If you'd like to be a part of the podcast in any way, maybe, if you're a high level player and you want to be on next week and talk about high level stuff, because I want to have that conversation with somebody, feel free to reach out to me at my socials below. Twitter at Mr_Popgun, Discord at Popgun, #5882, YouTube at 25Popgun, Twitch at Popgun25, Anchor.fm/Popgun, TikTok at Mr_Popgun. Let's raid somebody. Undershirt man. Let's go back to that dude. Hey, get vaccinated. Keep wearing your masks. Don't do anything stupid between now and then. Thank you, generally, for watching. We'll be back next week. Don't know what we're going to talk about, though.